It feels like everyone's talking about global connections these days, right? Especially
Yeah.
where it comes to opportunities for young people. And I think it's more important than ever, honestly.
Yeah, definitely.
And so that's why we're doing this deep dive today, all about Collective Work International, CWI for short.
Right.
And they've got this really inspiring mission. Basically, they're connecting talented young people, mainly Black Americans, and sending them to work in African countries.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's for these short-term internships. So we're talking about building a new generation with like firsthand experience in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're going to break it all down, like how they're making it happen, all the
That's
details.
fascinating.
Yeah, for sure.
What really stands out to me about CWI is how they're not just focused on, sending people over there. It's about real outcomes,
Right.
sharing skills, building networks that actually last, and making those cultural and economic connections, like really meaningful stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's not just a quick trip, right?
Exactly. It's about diving in, getting involved, and actually growing together, both sides.
I'm intrigued. So where did this all begin?
Well, CWI was actually founded pretty recently in 2023 by Michael Dones. His focus was on creating meaningful connections, really transformative ones, between college students here in the U.S. and their counterparts in Africa. He wanted to set up these short-term internships with multinational companies operating in Africa, providing real hands-on experience.
Got it.
It wasn't just about getting an internship, though. It was about fostering this kind of shared learning experience where everyone benefits from different perspectives.
Yeah, so it sounds like Dones needed to do more than just have this idea. He had to make it happen.
Exactly. He had to make those connections happen. So he got to work building partnerships with companies that have a big presence in Africa. And actually, one of the major turning points came in July 2024.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Kenya Airways became CWI's first corporate partner.
Well, that's a big deal. That's a big name to have on board, especially early on.
It was huge, a major African company recognizing the value of these global connections. It really demonstrated their belief in investing in the potential of a new, diverse generation.
It's interesting they started with an airline. It kind of symbolizes that idea of shared prosperity taking flight, literally.
Yeah, for sure. It's very symbolic.
So from that partnership, were they able to actually get students placed in these internships?
Oh, absolutely. That very same month, July 2024, the first group of students landed in Nairobi, Kenya to start their internships.
Awesome.
And what's impressive is where these students were coming from. We're talking about Hampton University, Howard University, Prairie View A&M, even UC Berkeley, some really top-tier institutions.
Wow, that's a great mix of schools.
Yeah, and it speaks to the quality of students involved, really talented and driven individuals.
That's great. So were these students from any particular field of study?
Yeah, there was definitely a focus on students in STEM fields, so science, technology, engineering, and math, and also business,
Okay.
which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
These are areas crucial for innovation and economic growth, especially in Africa.
Right. It's all about aligning with the needs there, for sure. So these students weren't just observing, right? They were actually doing real work.
Oh, absolutely. They were right in the thick of it, getting that practical experience. They had roles in marketing, engineering, and even flight operations, thanks to Kenya Airways, right?
Wow.
There were even some in legal and cybersecurity departments.
It sounds like it was a really diverse range of roles.
It was, and the point was not just to have them apply their skills, but to learn new things from their African colleagues.
Right. It's a two-way street.
Exactly, a true exchange of knowledge.
Yeah, to forge those lasting connections. Okay, so we've got this inspiring beginning, the early partnerships. Now, how does CWI actually work? Do they have like a system or a method?
They do. They call it the collaborative impact model.
Okay.
And it's all about, how they approach their mission. It's based on three main pillars: sharing skills, creating networks, and connecting cultures and economies. And I think this approach really sets them apart.
It makes sense. So sharing skills seems pretty straightforward, but what does creating networks actually look like, for these students on the ground?
It's all about building those relationships, both personally and professionally, that go way beyond the internship itself.
Right.
So these students are connecting with other young people in Africa, meeting experienced professionals in their fields, and building a network that can help them in their careers,
Yeah.
but also contribute to this bigger idea of collaboration between continents.
I can see how valuable that would be, especially over time as they grow in their careers.
Exactly. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah. So what about the third pillar, the connecting cultures and economies part? How does that happen?
That comes from actually living and working in a different culture, immersing themselves in it. The students get to see firsthand how businesses operate in Africa, how cultural dynamics influence things. And honestly, that cross-cultural experience is just invaluable.
I bet.
It's key to making collaboration work and, creating opportunities that benefit both the U.S. and Africa.
So this is definitely not your typical study abroad program.
No, not at all.
It's much more focused, right?
It's very intentional.
Hmm.
CWI specifically focuses on college students and recent graduates, and they really prioritize Black American talent for these internships that typically last 4 to 8 weeks.
I see.
And the sectors they target, science, technology, business, engineering, agriculture, sustainability, are all carefully chosen. And they sum up their approach with this acronym, TEMPO.
I like a good acronym. What does TEMPO stand for?
So it stands for Talent Pipeline for Global Business, experiences that matter for student upskilling, program offerings for universities, and opportunities created by nonprofit support for governments to make an impact.
Wow, they pack a lot into that acronym.
Right, and they're trying to make a difference on all those fronts.
So break it down for me. How does this work for businesses?
Well, for companies in Africa, CWI is a direct link to a pool of skilled and diverse potential employees.
Hmm. Makes sense. And what about the students? What's in it for them?
They're gaining real-world experience that's going to help them stand out in a global job market.
Right. It's not just theoretical knowledge.
It's hands-on.
Yeah.
They're in the trenches, learning by doing. That's a huge advantage.
And for the universities, how does partnering with CWI benefit them?
It gives them a really solid program to offer their students, something that goes beyond the usual study abroad options. It enhances their reputation and helps them produce graduates who are ready for the global stage.
So it's a win-win for everyone involved.
Yeah, exactly. It's about working together to create prosperity for everyone.
It sounds like CWI is this vital link between companies in Africa and these talented students from U.S. universities.
That's it, a charitable platform, bringing those two sides together through carefully designed partnerships, and it benefits everyone involved, CWI, the companies, and the universities. Everyone has a stake in making it work.
It's smart. And you said this model is different from traditional study abroad or volunteer programs. What makes it stand out?
What sets it apart is the emphasis on short-term professional development through these shared learning internships. It's not just about immersing yourself in the culture,
Yeah.
though that's definitely a part of it. And it's not just about volunteering, though the impact is there. It's about developing career skills and getting real international business experience in a short, intensive time frame.
So it's very focused and targeted.
Exactly. It's about making a concentrated impact, something that can really shape a student's future career.
I can see that. So they're not just talking about it, they're doing it. What kind of impact are they actually having?
Well, the CWI talks about the impact in a few ways.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, the young people involved are gaining global experience and making those international connections that will be valuable throughout their careers.
Right.
Secondly, the program is boosting their professional development. They're learning new skills, becoming more competitive.
Yeah.
Thirdly, there's this exchange of knowledge happening, between the U.S. and Africa, which is so important.
Yeah.
And fourthly, it's creating a talent pipeline for companies in Africa. So in the long run, it's contributing to economic growth and prosperity on the continent and making a bigger impact.
It's pretty inspiring to think about these young people from the diaspora connecting with their peers in Africa.
It is.
Not just through cultural exchange, but through the world of business. That's powerful.
It's about building a future together.
Exactly. So to make this happen, they're looking for support, right?
Absolutely. They're calling for what they call champions.
Champions, I like that.
Yeah, it's individuals and organizations who believe in their vision and are willing to provide financial support to make it all possible.
Right.
Every bit counts, every donation helps them create these opportunities.
It's true. I was looking at some of their materials, and they really emphasize the impact of even small donations.
Yeah, they do.
What stood out to you about their message?
They talked about how even modest donations directly enable students to have these international work experiences, build those global connections, and develop a broader perspective on the world.
Right.
And they share this quote from one of the students after finishing their internship. They said, "I now see myself as connected and the solution."
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, it really captures the essence of the program and how your support can help make a real difference in these young people's lives.
Trying to see CWI's vision for a more connected and prosperous future.
It is.
It's about empowering young talent to make a real difference on a global scale. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.